My entitled neighbor parked his favorite car in my driveway, blocking me from taking my son to the doctor, so I had it towed. He called the police on me afterward. Recently, my rich neighbors bought a huge monster truck and told me they planned to use my driveway to park it. I firmly said no, but they ignored me and parked it there anyway. I discovered this in the morning when I needed to take my son to the hospital. When I asked the father to move it, he refused and suggested I call a cab. I warned him that I would have it towed if he didn't move it. After some arguing, he reluctantly moved the truck, even though he could see I was tending to my sick child. This was a new level of entitlement. While waiting for my son's test results at the doctor's, I emailed my homeowners association, HOA, about what had happened. The HOA replied that my property was my own and I could control access to it. Thankfully, my son's tests came back negative. It was just a routine virus. A few days later, my oldest son started feeling sick, and I began feeling unwell too. We stayed in for the next 2 days. By Sunday evening, my oldest had a high fever, so I took him to the ER. After a 6-hour wait, the doctor confirmed he had a similar virus and prescribed an inhaler. We returned home around 3 a.m. This is when the real trouble began. Exhausted and ill, I turned the corner to my house and saw the same truck in my driveway, blocking my entrance and partially parked on my lawn. Furious, I called a 24-hour tow truck service. They arrived about 30 minutes later. While waiting, I took pictures of the truck's position on my property. The tow truck arrived, and the driver took the truck without incident. I sent another email to my HOA with the pictures and an explanation, then went to bed. At 6 a.m., loud banging on my door woke me. I grabbed my phone to record before answering and saw the neighbor and his son at the door. Our conversation went as follows. Neighbor, angry and yelling, "Where's the truck?" Me, calmly, while coughing, "It was towed. You can call to arrange getting it back." Neighbor, "You didn't have the right to tow it. You're going to pay to get it back." Me, "I had every right to tow an unauthorized vehicle from my property. I warned you not to park there." Neighbor, "You stole my truck. I'm calling the police and suing you." Me, "Go ahead. I'm sick and going back to bed." He continued banging and ringing my doorbell for another 4 minutes before giving up. My kids were woken by the noise, and I told them to go back to bed. I didn't think he would actually call the police, but he did. About half an hour later, the doorbell rang again. A police officer was there. Our conversation went as follows. Police officer, "Good morning, ma'am. Your neighbor reported that you stole his son's truck by having it towed from the street. We need to talk about this." Me, "Good morning, officer. My neighbor is only telling half the story. The truck was on my property, blocking my driveway. I have emails to the HOA, pictures, and a video of the neighbor's visit this morning." Police officer, "So, the truck was on your property without permission?" Me, "Yes, sir. I warned them before, and I have proof." I showed the officer the emails, pictures, and video. He confirmed the truck was on my property and not on the street. The officer then asked if I wanted to file a trespassing report. I agreed but chose to do it online later, as I was exhausted. The officer gave me his card and advised me to keep all evidence and reference the case number in my report. He then went to talk to the neighbor. Later, I sent the photos, video, and another copy of the HOA emails to the officer's email address and filed a trespassing report online. I thought that was the end of it. But a few hours later, the father knocked on my door again. This time, he apologized for parking in my driveway and pleaded with me to drop the trespassing charge, explaining that he had a criminal record and this would not help his case. He admitted he had no grounds to sue and was willing to pay to retrieve his truck. He even apologized for calling me poor initially. He extended his hand for a shake, and after a moment, I shook it, telling him I forgave him but warned that I would press charges without hesitation if it happened again.